the rumors are true, then folks, it is a great day to be a WWE fan because reportedly Triple H, ever since the Endeavor deal has officially come to pass and WWE and UFC have merged, Triple H is now in full charge of WWE Creative. Now, I have covered this Vince McMahon, Triple H creativity, Vince McMahon in and out of WWE for the past almost year and a half now. It has been the most wild time ever to be a professional wrestling fan. We'll get to the NXT AEW Tuesday Night War either in the next segment if you're listening on audio or in the next video clip if you're listening on the YouTube channel. But I have said over the last, what would it be, 14 months that Triple H now has effectively taken over as head of creative in WWE. WWE, in my lifetime, and I'm 25 years old, I've been watching WWE since May of 2007. In my lifetime, arguably, and again, I came up at the very tail end of the Ruthless Aggression era going into the PG era, there has never been a more exciting time to be a fan of specifically World Wrestling Entertainment. When WWE came back in 2021 after the whole COVID show and there was no fans for basically 16 months, WWE was hot at that point. And then CM Punk, who we're about to get to, by the way, joined All Elite Wrestling. And at that point, AEW had the most momentum, arguably, they ever had in a company. And then 2022 occurred when, WWE morale was down and Vince McMahon was making constant, booking decisions on the fly and attendance was down. And the morale in WWE is really bad and ticket sales were down and merchandise sales were down, and it just felt like WWE at that point had no momentum, and it felt like the company needed a spark. And that spark occurred when Triple H finally stepped in. And for the first time in a long time, he is using a lot of different wrestlers, either those that came up with him through NXT or those that have been WWE, for a long time, the real veterans in the company. They are doing long-term storytelling. They're not just booking for a cheap pop. They're not just booking for the crowd engagement, though they are giving more baby faces their love. I've said this before. Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, LA Knight. They are 5 white-hot WWE baby faces right now. Yeah, and one of those reasons is because fan attendance is up. Merchandise is up, and WWE is actually booking these wrestlers like people as opposed to wrestlers that are playing robots. Monday Night Raw is a perfect example. Why does Drew McIntyre not want the Judgment Day to be the World Champion? Because he already dealt with the Bloodline on SmackDown. He doesn't want to deal with another faction on Raw. The Raw roster being hesitant to welcome Jey Uso, even though he has broken away from the Bloodline because of all the things the Bloodline did to a lot of those SmackDown wrestlers at the time that are now on Raw. All makes sense with obviously Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn trying to convince the roster. Everything going on with the Judgment Day. It almost feels like the wrestlers now are, they're not just playing characters. It is like watching a reality TV show. I've said before, it feels like WWE has stolen some of the writers that have been on strike at NBC Universal, specifically for Raw, because SmackDown has turned into a great wrestling show. SmackDown 2 hours is a little bit less time, obviously, with Raw to what stories breathe. Raw has been the more story-based show, though some terrific wrestling matches this past Monday on Raw, including that Chad Gable, Brunson Reed, Ricochet triple threat match, Shinsuke Nakamura and his feud with Seth Rollins, and him breaking out and turning a full-on heel and targeting the back of Seth Rollins, which we've known has been injured for a long time, makes perfect sense. Like, everything is just making sense. WWE is putting on compelling storylines. And again, using more people, giving everybody a story, giving everybody a reason. And, with some of the NXT hires have not worked out. Guys that have worked out, such as Bronson Reed, Karrion Kross, by the way, is set to receive a big push reportedly on SmackDown. That to me, once again, indicates that Triple H is in charge of Head of Creative and not rushing decisions. The slow build with LA Knight, the slow build with Cody Rhodes. You are giving yourself an opportunity to essentially handpick who is going to take down Roman Reigns, who does feel like a special attraction because he has not been around for a while now that he premieres on the season premiere of SmackDown. The Intercontinental Champion Gunther is on raging on full cylinders. You have DIY back. There are so many things happening both on screen and off screen. Whether it's backstage interviews with people talking in the background, or whether it's just terrific in-ring action. It feels like everybody on the show has a part to play, even if they're not specifically being used every single week. WWE has had a problem for a while of having superstars buried in catering or not having to do with somebody. And they needed more depth on the roster, specifically when AEW took a lot of those wrestlers when they were leaving while Vince McMahon was in charge. I think WWE is once again building up the tag team division. I was not sure about how the Undisputed Tag Team Championships were going to work. I think having one tag team championship belt for now certainly makes sense. You could certainly make the same case right now, I would say, about the women's division. Maybe they just need one women's championship, but the Intercontinental Championship is finally getting talked about again as a prestigious championship, thanks to Gunther. Rey Mysterio is doing great things with the United States Championship. We have a World Heavyweight Champion defending and wrestling every single week in Seth Rollins, while the Tribal Chief still feels like a special attraction with the Undisputed Universal Championship. Merchandise sales are up, ticket sales are up, crowd enthusiasm is definitely way up. Signs are back. They're screaming. They're loud. It just feels like a reinvigorated WWE right now, thanks to the control of Mr. Paul Triple H Levesque. Now, with that being said, there is a potential rumor out there, a very interesting rumor when it comes to WWE, and it has to do with this man right here in my virtual background on YouTube, CM Punk. Now, we know over the past couple of weeks on Monday Night Raw, WWE has been saying promos that CM Punk used to say. We saw the GTS Shinsuke Nakamura delivered Ricochet. We've heard the backstage report of CM Punk being interested to go back to WWE. We heard the report of CM Punk wanting to return at the 2023 Royal Rumble, but AEW and Tony Khan would not let CM Punk out of his contract. I've covered, once again, as much as I've covered the Vince McMahon backstage drama with WWE, I've covered the CM Punk and the Elite drama in AEW. And I've criticized CM Punk. I think CM Punk was a cancer to that AEW locker room. But I'll say this, and as much as you know, my favorite wrestler of all time is Edge, now Adam Copeland in AEW. Edge is not as big of a draw as CM Punk, and I think anybody that watches wrestling will admit that, and AEW has not had the ticket sales or the buzz that CM Punk did bring to the promotion. CM Punk is a major star, whether he has baggage or not. He reminds me a lot of a Terrell Owens, if you will, in the National Football League. The question is the baggage worth the reward? And I think in WWE structure, because let's face it, it took CM Punk about 6 months to figure out that AEW was a complete crap show, which is why he crapped on the Elite at that all-out pay-per-view in 2022. I think CM Punk, sometimes we realize the grass isn't always greener. Punk resented WWE for so long, and after AEW thought they had become a viable second promotion, CM Punk was looking to put that promotion on the map. And then he realized AEW wasn't as great as he thought he was. He realized he made a mistake. He still has that itching desire to return to pro wrestling. And I do think, because there are reports out there that WWE has not signed Punk, they're not willing to work with Punk, they want to temper expectations. They did the same thing with Cody Rhodes when it came to WrestleMania 38. They did the same when it came to Bray Wyatt at Extreme Rules last year. I believe in my heart of hearts, CM Punk is showing up to confront the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, at Survivor Series 2023. And, it may not be Punk versus Roman next year at WrestleMania. You may get Punk versus Seth Rollins to main event night 1, Roman Reigns versus either The Rock or Cody Rhodes at night 2. It looks like where we are at it. But I think CM Punk will not be able to pull his antics backstage with WWE. There's a lot of respected leaders in that locker room. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, The Miz, Cody, Kevin, Sammy. There's a lot of guys in WWE right now that either Punk is mixed up with when they were really young, like a Rollins or a Reigns, that would be completely different feuds now, or feuds. And as I mentioned, guys like Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Ricochet, Gunther, LA Knight. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I think Punk coming back to WWE would be a guy on his best behavior. I think that a guy like Cody Rhodes, who was in AEW, we're seeing now Jade Cargill come from AEW to WWE. I think WWE really has their eyes on MJF. If his contract is truly up in 2024, if he didn't secretly re-sign a deal with AEW, which my thought process is that he did that, even though I do hope that MJF eventually does become a member of WWE myself. But I think CM Punk coming back to WWE, I do think it's going to happen. I think it's about right. It's been a decade. I think, relationships can kind of mend the fences over time. And I think this would be CM Punk on his best behavior. I think this is the way CM Punk gets his name back into the good graces, back into the good graces of the media, if you will. And I think CM Punk will be reinvigorated, and he knows the way that WWE works, and it's different now, right? It's not Vince McMahon's way or the highway. Some wrestlers are getting creative control. There's a lot more creative freedom. There's a lot more fan enthusiasm. And I think WWE fans, there's a lot of questions about would they open Cody Rhodes back up with open arms. Cody was not that popular when he left WWE. He was not popular when he left AEW. And yet he's been the biggest babyface, arguably, in WWE over the last year and a half. The same thing could be said about CM Punk. The Punk is a little bit more dislikable. You could see Punk eventually turning heel, but I think the WWE Universe would welcome CM Punk back, and I think WWE should absolutely pull the trigger on Survivor Series 2024. Like that clip from the Brand's World Podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World Podcast right here on YouTube.